Hello everybody, this is Bill McFadden from TonePure.com, and in this video we're going to take a look at the score by Aaron Zigman of the movie Bridge to Terabithia. So we'll go through the chord analysis, some of the modulation changes, and the melody. So we'll stop it there and we'll take a look at the chord structure. First of all, we notice that it's in D minor. If you look at the different chords, you see they fit in the scale of D minor, which has one flat. So if we play the scale, so we would expect the notes of the melody to conform to that scale for the most part. But right now we're just looking at the chord analysis. So, and then we have these 7 measures, and then in measure 8, notice we go to the chord E flat, which has, for one thing, an E flat and a B flat in it. Actually, let me move that up a little bit. So we have an E flat and a B flat in it. So we can, that's a pretty good hint that we've modulated to another key. And the reason that modulation works is B flat is in the key of D minor. And at the same time, if we look at the key of E flat, which has 3 flats, B flat is also in the key of E flat. So your B flat is the pivot chord. It's a chord that is contained in the scale of D minor and also contained in the scale of E flat. So let's go ahead and continue on. We'll pick up the cue where it transitions into the key of E flat. Let's go over that chord sequence while we're looking at the actual music. Here we have the D minor, and then we went to the A minor, and then here we have the B flat, which is a 6th chord of the D minor scale, and then the C suspended, or the 4th, which is the 7th of the chord. And then we have a D minor, again, back to the A minor, which is the 5, and then the 6 of the scale, and then we transition into E flat. So E flat's the 1 of the scale of E flat. Then we go to A flat, which we see as the 4 of the scale, and then the F minor is the 2nd chord in the scale. And then we have a B flat, sorry. And then we're back to the E flat. The E flat over G, then the A flat over C. And then a D sus to a D, and then an E sus or 4th to E flat. And actually, if you notice over here, we have the B flat going from the 9 to the 8. Or if we play what's written there, we have And if you look at the E flat scale, B flat is actually the fifth of the scale. So we should have Roman numeral 5 right there. So that's the chord structure. And it turns out after we go through this chord structure, we actually transition to another key. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But let's now take a look at the melody that's involved in the cue. So now we're going to focus on the melody with the harmony bass. So the cue starts out with the So if you notice in the first measure, we have F, which actually happens to be a chord tone in the D minor chord. Then we have this G to A. So the F is a chord tone, the A is a chord tone of the D minor chord, and the note in between in the scale of D minor is called the passing tone. So we're passing from one chord tone to the next chord tone. Then in measure 2, we have E, which is a chord tone. And then notice the D is between the two chord tones E and C, so it's a passing tone. And then we go to B flat. So the melody note is the third of B flat, so it's a chord tone. F is a chord tone, so we have another passing tone. The E is a passing tone between basically the third and the fifth of the chord, B flat. Now in this case, in the C chord, F is the fourth of the C chord. So we're going from the suspended fourth to the third. Now we go back to the E minor chord. F is a chord tone, again of D minor. Now here we're not passing between two chord tones. The E is actually a neighboring tone. It neighbors F. So it's in the scale one note below F. So we're starting on F, neighboring tone back to F. And then the E minor or A minor. So C is a chord tone, and so is E. So basically there's your D minor chord. So there's your C, there's your E. And then we're in B flat, the key, or the chord B flat. So D is the third of B flat, F is the fifth, so we're doing a passing tone between the third and the fifth. And then in measure 8, that's where we have the modulation. So now the chord is E flat. And notice both G and E flat are chord tones in the E flat chord. Basically, we're doing the third and the root. And then we go to A flat, which is the third of A flat chord tone. And then notice we have D to E flat. E flat is it's one of our chord tones. So we're going from one chord tone, passing tone, to another chord tone. Then we go to F minor, which happens to be the third of F minor. And then the C is the fifth of F minor. Here's your F minor chord. So we're using chord tones there. And then we go back to B flat. So The D is the third of E flat. And so D is a third, F is a fifth, so we have a passing tone, E flat. And then in measure 12, B flat is a chord tone of E flat. So here we have a non-chord tone. It's not a passing tone or neighboring tone. So if you look at the scale of E flat, 1, 2, it's a seventh of E flat. And then we have a chord tone of A flat. Then we see another neighboring tone. Then we go to D flat. Actually, it's a D flat suspended. So there's a little bit of tension there. So we're at A flat over C. The neighboring tone, the chord tone, and then, but then it's resolved. The tension's resolved. And now we're going to E flat and then resolving the tension. So the G is a chord tone and the E flat in measure 13 is a neighboring tone. It's neighboring the F. So there you have your melody analyzed in terms of chord tones, non-chord tones, passing tones, neighboring tones. So now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the last three measures, basically 12, 13, and 14, and then we're going to look at what Aaron Zigman does next as a modulation. Here we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at exactly what he did right there. So here we go. When the cue basically changes key once again, but this time it's not a pivot tone modulation, it's just a general modulation. Everything goes up a minor third, the melody and the chord structure. So let's listen to that at this point. Okay, so that is actually exactly the same chord structure we had in the previous 14 measures. So measure 15 starts with an F minor chord, which is basically a minor third up from the D minor chord that we initially had. So all the notes in the melody and all the chords that we had in the previous 15 measures are just brought up a minor third. There is a difference, and that happens in measure 23, where we just stay on the, in this case, C flat chord, which is enharmonically equivalent to a B chord. And then we do a C flat over A or a B over A, and then an A, and then an A over G to a G, and then a G, as you will hear. But so we've gone up to right here, and then notice, just like it did in the previous measures we looked at, in measures 1 through 15, it basically, after these measures, it does change, it modulates, because the D flat is the sixth chord of the key of F minor. Okay, and it also has a common chord in the key of G flat. So the same identical analysis, you have the passing tones in the same identical places, neighboring tones, chord tones where we had chord tones before. So there you have a couple more passing tones and so on. It just changes at the very end because of the cue is actually coming to an end. So now we'll go ahead and start where there's the modulation at measure 21 in our score. So it sounds like this. So as we take a look at the measures 15 on up, as we noticed before, we're in the key of F minor, which has 4 flats. And then the D flat is the pivot chord, which is a 6th chord in F minor, and it is the 5 chord in G flat, in the scale of G flat. So that was the pivot, the same way we pivoted in the previous 14 measures. And as we mentioned before, there are a few variations in the melody in the second pass, like in one measure or so. But other than that, it's pretty well identical. So this is Bill McFadden from Tone Pure Music. If you like this video, please click like. If you wish to subscribe and be notified of upcoming videos and the series on film scoring, and also we get into sample libraries. Also, we get into writing, how to write cues, and the scales and the chord structures to use. So basically it's about how to write music and the tools you need to write it. So Bill McFadden signing off from Tone Pure Music.